It started subtly, a misplaced word here and there. A gaze that lingered too long, almost as if searching for something. A sudden, almost obsessive interest in her appearance more than usual. My wife Mary wasn't exactly subtle in her changes. Or maybe I was just blinded by love, by trust, by the life we had built together over the years. We had been married for 10 years. 10 good years. Or so I thought. Lately something felt off, like a shadow creeping into our lives, a chill in the air, a distance in her touch that hadn't been there before. When I brought it up, she brushed it away, dismissing my concerns with a wave of her hand. "It's just work," she would say. "Don't be silly." But I wasn't silly, I knew her too well. I knew something was wrong, my gut told me. And my gut was never wrong. I decided to trust my instincts. They had never failed me before. One night she told me she was working late, again. It had become a frequent excuse. I felt a familiar pang of suspicion, a gnawing feeling that something was terribly wrong. I decided to surprise her, bring her dinner, hoping to catch a glimpse of the truth. But when I arrived at her office it was empty, dark, deserted, not a soul in sight. My heart pounded in my chest, a sense of dread washing over me. A knot of dread tightened in my stomach. This wasn't right. This wasn't Mary. Where was she? What was she hiding? I drove home, my mind racing, thoughts colliding like cars in a demolition derby. Thoughts spun in a dizzying, sickening waltz. Doubt gnawed at me, each second feeling like an eternity. The house was empty, the air thick with a silence that screamed louder than any accusation. Hours crawled by, midnight came and went, and still, nothing. Just when I was about to call the police, I heard it. A sound that shattered the oppressive silence. A car door closing, muffled voices drifting through the night air. My heart leaped into my throat, pounding like a drum in my ears. Peeking through the blinds, I saw them. Shadows moving in the dim light. Mary and a man I didn't recognize. They stood too close, their bodies almost touching. Tall, dark hair, a confident swagger that made my blood boil. They were laughing, whispering, their bodies close, too close, intimate in a way that made my stomach churn. He had his arm around her waist and she didn't pull away. She leaned into him. Rage, raw and consuming, surged through me. I saw red, my vision narrowing to a tunnel, my hands clenched into fists, knuckles white with the force of my anger. I wanted to burst out that door and confront them, demand answers, make them feel my pain, and what? What could I do? The reality of my helplessness hit me like a punch to the gut. I spent the night in a haze of anger and despair. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes I saw their faces, heard their laughter. I wouldn't confront them, not yet, not until I had a plan. The idea came to me slowly, like a whisper in the dark. I wouldn't stoop to their level. No, my revenge would be cold, calculated and absolute. I would beat them at their own game. I spent the next few days observing their routine, learning their habits. He would drop her off a few blocks from home, careful not to be seen. They were sloppy, arrogant, they thought they were invincible, they underestimated me. My plan was simple, yet elegant. I would use their infidelity against them, turn their secret rendezvous into a cage of their own making. First, I needed an excuse to leave the house for a few days. A business trip seemed plausible enough. Then, the real work began. I installed hidden cameras throughout the house, strategically placed to capture their every move. Motion sensors, rigged to trigger a deafening alarm, guarded all the exits. I even set up a sound system, capable of broadcasting their illicit whispers throughout the entire neighborhood. Finally, I left a note for Mary, a single line scrawled on the back of a used envelope. "Gone on a business trip. Be back in a week. Love, honey." The trap was set, now all I had to do was wait. The days dragged by with agonizing slowness, each second feeling like an eternity. Time seemed to stretch, mocking my impatience and feeding my growing anxiety. I checked the security footage obsessively, every pixel a testament to their betrayal. My eyes burned from the constant surveillance, but I couldn't look away. They were bolder now, their affair no longer a secret within the walls of our home. Their stolen glances and secret touches were now out in the open, taunting me. They were careless, their guard down. Then, the night arrived. The night that would change everything. The night I had been waiting for. The anticipation was almost unbearable, my heart pounding in my chest. I watched on the hidden cameras as they entered the house, their laughter echoing through the empty rooms. They were so unaware, so confident in their deceit. They embraced, oblivious to the silent eyes watching their every move. The moment was here, the moment I had meticulously planned for. With a deep breath, I reached for my phone. My fingers trembled slightly as I dialed the number, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. One by one, I activated the system. Each button press felt like a step closer to the inevitable confrontation. The lights flickered, plunging the house into darkness. The sudden shift was jarring, a prelude to the chaos that was about to unfold. The sound system crackled to life, their whispered endearments amplified to a deafening roar. Every word they spoke was now a weapon, cutting through the silence. Panicked shouts filled the air as the security alarm blared, the sound piercing the night. Their fear was palpable, a stark contrast to their earlier confidence. I watched as they scrambled for the exits, only to find every door and window secured. They were trapped, their secret laid bare for all to see and hear. The neighbors gathered outside, their faces a mixture of shock and amusement. This was my masterpiece. As the police arrived, sirens wailing in the distance, I allowed myself a small smile. Justice had been served. My revenge, cold and calculated, was complete. I closed the laptop, the images of their downfall seared into my memory. The silence in the room was deafening, but it was a good silence. A silence that spoke of closure, of justice, of sweet, sweet revenge.